It all begins with a silent step. There is no sound of thunder, no spectacular manifestations, only a restless heart, a soul weary of the weight of the world, seeking an invisible shelter. Psalm 91 begins not as just any poem, but as the gateway to a spiritual dimension where few have the courage to dwell. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High. Psalm 91, Banding Satu. It is not a promise for the visitor, for the one who comes and goes as he pleases. It is a reality for the one who dwells, who chooses to live there. The secret place of the Most High is not a physical place. It is a state of mind, a decision of absolute dependence, where the ego is left outside. The verb is present tense, dwells. Here, God is not accessed as a resource, but as a dwelling place. The world offers temporary shelters, addictions, distractions, superficial religiosity, but the psalmist speaks of an eternal refuge, a shadow of the Almighty, where there is true rest. And this rest is not just emotional. It is a spiritual shield that separates the child from the destruction that is raging outside. The first step of this spiritual roadmap is to understand that those who dwell do not flee from war, but overcome because they are already hidden in God. The second verse is like a gun being fired in an unseen war. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, and I will trust in Him. Psalm 91:2. There is power in words spoken in faith. The psalmist doesn't just believe, he says it, and when he says it, something in the spiritual world snaps. The declaration is not passive, it is a confession of loyalty, a choice of allegiance. What comes out of the mouth activates or deactivates God's power over our lives. Proverbs 18:21. What have you been saying in the face of your struggles? The psalmist looks at the chaos around him and chooses to declare refuge, strength, trust, and notice. It is not a borrowed faith. It is personal. My God, my refuge, my fortress. There is a sense of spiritual ownership. It is not an inherited prayer, nor a cultural faith. It is someone who knows God because they have experienced Him in the valley. This declaration is like the triggering of a code. Whoever says this with faith opens a spiritual shield, activates angels, breaks curses, and disarms traps. It is the cry of a warrior who does not fight with human weapons, but with the sword of the Word. And when this sword is used, hell falls silent. For He will deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the deadly pestilence. Psalm 91:3. God knows every trap, every poison, every hidden scheme of the enemy. The fowler sets his snares in silence. He does not shout, he does not attack head-on. He seduces, attracts, camouflages. So does the devil. He studies your habits, your desires, your traumas. He designs a personalized snare to capture you spiritually. But the psalmist is not afraid, because God's deliverance is not generic, it is specific. He delivers from the kind of trap that man does not even realize he is caught in. And He also delivers from the pestilence that which slowly eats away at us from within. There are physical illnesses, but there are also emotional and spiritual pestilences, bitterness, pride, unbelief. When we trust in God as our dwelling place, deliverance is daily. We may not always realize it, but He is undoing snares as we walk. A detour, a denied answer, a friendship ended, all of these can be deliverance in disguise. And the psalmist wants you to know, while you are preoccupied with the visible, God is waging war in the invisible. He shall cover thee with His feathers, and under His wings shalt thou trust. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler. Psalm 91, Banding 4. Here the image changes. It is no longer the warrior, but the son. God is portrayed as a bird that covers her young with her wings, like a mother who protects them with her body and warmth. It is an intimate protection. It is not a fence, it is the very body of God surrounding those who trust in Him. And what protects us? The truth, not the truth of men, not your interpretation of reality, but the truth of God, which is immutable, eternal, sharp. Jesus said, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." John 8:32. On the day when the lie of fear says, "You will not succeed," the truth of God answers, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." Philippians 4:13. The truth of God is a shield that repels the darts of deception, panic, and anxiety. That is why it is urgent to immerse ourselves in the Word, not as a ritual, but as someone seeking shelter from the storm. The truth is a shield, but only for those who hold it. Verse 5 is not a wish, it is a spiritual command. You shall not fear the terror of night, nor the arrow that flies by day. In other words, your soul is authorized not to bow down to fear. The terror of night is everything that comes when the lights go out, not just physically, but emotionally. It is when your thoughts scream. It is the diagnosis, the loneliness, the scarcity, the past. Fear of night has the power to paralyze, to rob you of sleep, to weaken your faith. But Psalm 91 screams, "You will not fear, and neither will the arrow that flies by day." Attacks that come without warning, from someone's mouth, from bad news, from a financial problem. It is not that these things do not exist, but they will not overwhelm you. He who dwells in the Most High can walk in the midst of terror and still keep his eyes fixed on help. It is like walking in the midst of war with your heart at peace. Not because the war is over, but because the general is with you. The psalm is not a denial of reality, it is a decree of victory in the midst of it. In verse 6, the psalmist reveals two types of threats: the pestilence that stalks in the darkness and the plague that destroys at noonday. Here we have the duality of attacks, the hidden and the obvious. The pestilence in the darkness symbolizes that which acts in silence: destructive thoughts, emotional illnesses, addictions disguised as relief. These are forces that operate out of sight, undermining the structures of faith. The plague at noonday, on the other hand, represents the open, blatant attack that comes without shame or mask. Public problems, persecutions, family or financial collapse. But in both cases, the answer is the same: you will not be afraid. Trust in God does not depend on the type of attack He remains firm in any scenario. This verse is a warning. The enemy tries to attack you from all sides and at all times. But what dwells in hiding will not be destroyed. God not only prevents damage, He prepares you to walk over the rubble and still come out unharmed. The world roars, the plague prowls, but he who is under the wings of the Most High continues walking in a straight line. As someone who has a certain destiny, 1,000 may fall at your side and 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. Psalms 91:7. This is not a catchphrase. It is a real description of a chaotic scenario. A battlefield where bodies fall, hopes dissolve, structures crumble, and yet you remain standing. The psalm does not say that you will soar above the battlefield, but that you will stand firm on it. This is more powerful than escaping. It is enduring. And not being hit here does not mean that nothing will touch you, but that nothing will have the power to destroy you. The world is full of reasons to give up: economic crises, broken relationships, illness, injustice, 10,000 reasons to fall. But those who abide in God find only one reason to stand. He is their strength. In Ephesians 6:13, Paul says, "Withstand in the evil day, and after you have done everything, stand firm." This is Psalm 91 in action. Everyone around you is falling apart, but you keep going. You don't know how to explain it. You just know that God is the one who sustains you. Only with your eyes will you behold and see the reward of the wicked. Psalm 91:8. Here the psalm changes tone. It is no longer just about protection, but about justice. The vision you will have will not be of defeat, but of victory. Not because you have destroyed your enemies, but because God has intervened. The text speaks of a moment when the righteous witnessed the outcome of those who mocked God, of those who chose the path of violence, lies, and arrogance. Seeing with your eyes is not just witnessing it, bearing witness in order to tell. You will see, you will remember, and you will use that memory to say, "The Lord has done this." Psalm 118. And it is not about rejoicing in the destruction of others, but about reverence for the righteous God who does not allow impunity to reign forever. Faith does not seek revenge, it watches and waits. For the righteous live by faith, not by the sword. When you see with your eyes what you previously only hoped for with your heart, you understand that it was worth trusting. It is God's justice acting in His time. For you, O Lord, are my refuge. In the Most High you have made your dwelling place. Psalm 91:9. So far, we have heard promises, but now the psalmist reveals the secret. All these blessings are conditioned on a decision. It is not enough to know about the refuge. You must choose it. A dwelling place is not a visit. Many seek God only in times of affliction, like someone who rushes to the emergency room. But the psalmist speaks of those who have made their dwelling place in the Most High. This changes everything. To dwell in God is to align one's thoughts with His Word, to live daily in prayer, to seek communion, even when emotions do not accompany it. And the result of this decision: no evil shall befall you, nor shall any plague come near your tent. V10. There is no room for superstition here. The psalm is not an amulet open in the living room, but a covenant sealed in the heart. Those who make God their home find a kind of security that the world cannot offer. It is a shield that fear does not understand, that the enemy cannot penetrate, and that the heavens recognize as sacred territory. For He will give His angels charge over you, to guard you in all your ways. Psalm 91, banding 11. Now imagine what the eye cannot see. As you walk the streets, as you sleep, as you cry in your dark room, there are heavenly beings carrying out direct orders from God to protect you. This is not a metaphor. Hebrews 1:14 states that angels are ministering spirits sent to serve those who will inherit salvation. Heaven is an organized structure with hierarchies, and you are so important to God that He has assigned angels to your paths. Paths plural. This includes the physical, the emotional, the spiritual, the financial, the familial. There are angels behind the scenes of every route you take, and they do not come by chance. They are given orders. The text is clear. He will give you orders. This means that the protection you experience is not random. It is intentional, strategic, personalized. God does not just care. He commands an army to act on your behalf. They will bear you up in their hands, so that you will not dash your foot against a stone. Psalm 91, banding 12. God does not just send angels to watch, but to support you. A stumble is not a fall, it is that moment when your strength fails, your mind hesitates, and fear wins for a second. How many times have you reached the limit and felt like you were going to collapse? Because this verse declares that someone invisible, heavenly held you up. Most of the deliverances we receive will never be seen with our eyes. A curve we avoided, an invitation we refused, a thought interrupted. All of these can be signs that someone intervened. God is a God of details. He does not only deliver us from great dangers, He even keeps us from stumbling over things that would seem insignificant. Today's stumble could be tomorrow's abyss. That is why He sends angels. And when you feel like everything is falling apart, remember, there are hands holding your feet, even when your eyes do not notice. You will tread upon the lion and the cobra, the young lion and the serpent. You will trample underfoot. Psalm 91, banding 13. This is no longer about escape or passive protection. Now it is offensive. The righteous man not only survives, he tramples upon that which once terrified him. The lion is a symbol of brute force, of the threat that roars. The serpent is the symbol of cunning, of the lie that hides. God gives you the authority to overcome both. This is not about human bravery, but about spiritual identity. In Luke 10:19, Jesus confirms, "Behold, I give you the authority to trample on serpents and scorpions, and nothing shall by any means hurt you." If you dwell in the Most High, you carry authority from heaven. This means that fear, temptation, addictions, accusations, everything that crawls around you or roars at you is under your feet. But you must step on them, not with arrogance, but with faith. The text does not say you will see the lion or you will hear the serpent. It says you will step on it. Faith demands action. Authority demands a stance. God has already given it. Now it is up to you to put your foot down. From verse 14 onwards, there is a turning point in the text. God is no longer mentioned. He is the one speaking. Because he has clung to me in love, I will deliver him. I will set him on high, because he has known my name. The Creator interrupts the psalmist to declare in his own voice what he will do for those who love him. This is rare in Scripture. When God speaks like this, it is because he is sealing a covenant. And the reason is simple. Because he loved me. Love, not perfection. Love, not performance. Love, not religiosity. What activates deliverance is not the list of good deeds, but attachment to the Lord. Attachment speaks of bond. And knowing his name is more than knowing that he exists. It is recognizing his character, his voice, his ways. Those who know God's name do not confuse attack with abandonment. They know that even in the valley, he is present. God does not reward emotion. He honors fidelity. And here he promises, those who love me will be set on high, above the snakes, out of reach of the predator. He will call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. Psalms 91, banding 15. God does not promise to prevent anguish, he promises presence in it. That changes everything. Deliverance is not immediate, but it is certain. The promise here is sequential: invocation, response, presence, rescue, honor. 5 levels of relationship between God and those who love him. First, the cry, the sincere, often desperate prayer. Then, the answer, which can come as peace, guidance, or even silence that teaches. Then, the presence in pain. God does not watch you from afar. He enters the pit with you. Then, he takes you out at the right time. And finally, he glorifies, that is, he transforms what was shame into testimony. This is the logic of the kingdom. What the enemy used to destroy, God uses to raise you up. And when the world looks at you, they don't just see someone who survived. They see someone who bears marks of victory and glory. With long life I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. Psalms 91, banding 16. God does not just promise many days, but abundant days. This is much more than time it is. Content. There are people who live a short life and leave their mark on the world. There are others who live a long life and do not even leave their mark on themselves. God's promise is a full life, full of purpose, peace, and presence. Long life is not monotony, it is plenitude. And showing salvation is not just guaranteeing heaven, it is manifesting deliverances, miracles, and provisions in life. It is seeing God act in areas where before there was only darkness. It is having a history of deliverances so clear that you begin to carry on your face the glow of someone who has seen God up close. The life that God offers is not light because it is painless, but because it has meaning. And this promise closes the psalm like a seal. Those who dwell in the hidden place live long, intense, safe days full of revelations. God promises to show salvation, and when he shows it, no one can erase it. As the psalm comes to a close, a truth imposes itself like a filter. The hiding place of the Most High is not accessible to just anyone. The text does not say he who visits, but he who dwells. This distinction is everything. Many turn to God as if they were running to an improvised shelter in times of storm. But the hiding place is not for those who come from time to time. It is for those who have decided to dwell, to remain, to renounce. This explains why so many people read Psalm 91, repeat it like a mantra, but continue to be hit by all kinds of arrows. Because the hiding place is spiritual, not decorative. It is a secret place where the flesh dies and the spirit takes control. It is where you learn to listen before speaking, to depend before acting, to obey before questioning. This hiding place is the antechamber of war, but also the cradle of victory. Only those who endure silence, who exchange urgency for intimacy, and who love presence more than deliverance, remain there. This place exists, and it is available, but you have to surrender to access it. Over the centuries, Psalm 91 has been transformed by many into a symbol. Open Bibles in living rooms, verses in frames, promises tattooed on the skin. But the psalm has never been an ornament. It is a weapon, and a weapon only works if it is wielded with knowledge and intention. When used as an amulet, without living faith, it becomes just a letter. But when the soul agrees with each word, when the spirit believes, and the mouth declares, this psalm becomes a shield, a sword, and armor. It is not superstition. It is spiritual warfare based on the word, and every weapon needs to be used with preparation. Memorizing is not enough. It is necessary to meditate. Repetition is shallow. It is necessary to believe. This psalm is part of the artillery of the kingdom. It was not written to be pretty, but to be effective. It is not poetic, it is strategic. And those who understand this stop fearing the darkness, because they know they carry light. They stop fearing the enemy, because they know they are armed. And stop begging for deliverance, because you live in the center of protection. There is a silent war going on behind every line of Psalm 91. What seems like a protective text is, in fact, a document of heavenly strategy. Angels are not mentioned as decoration. They are soldiers with orders. Deliverance is not luck, it is the action of spiritual intelligence. Plague, terror, arrows, lions, and serpents, these are archetypes of real enemies, operating on the physical and spiritual planes. This psalm is the campaign diary of the believer who lives on the front lines. And as in every good war script, there is tension, there is conflict, there is rescue, and there is glory. But the climax is this: the general of the army is with you. He does not give orders from afar. He walks in the midst of the battle. The blood that covers your life is not symbolic, it is the blood of the Lamb who conquered death. When the enemy sees you, he does not see just a man or a woman. He sees the seal of the covenant, and that is enough to make hell retreat. Psalm 91 is the banner raised in the midst of the fire that declares, "Here, God reigns. I will show you my salvation." This final promise doesn't just speak of eternity. It speaks of an active, visible, present salvation. God doesn't just want to save you at the end of time. He wants to save you today. Save you from the pride that destroys relationships, from the fear that paralyzes decisions, from the anxiety that steals sleep, from the guilt that imprisons the heart. God's salvation is a progressive experience. First, He rescues you, then He heals you, then He transforms you, and then He sends you. Many want to be saved from hell, but they won't allow themselves to be saved. God wants to show, not hide. Salvation is visible. It is a healed mind, a restored family, a life with purpose. When the psalmist says, "I will show you," he is saying, "I will make it evident, so that you can see it, and so that others can see it in you." A life marked by salvation doesn't need to be preached with words. It carries evidence, and each evidence is an invitation for others to dwell in the same hiding place. The movie ends, but the story continues. Psalm 91 is not an isolated chapter. It is a call, a survival manual for the end times, a summons to live supernaturally in a world that is falling apart. When you finish reading this, it is not to close the Bible, it is to open your eyes. The secret place of the Most High is not a bubble, it is a platform. You are not protected so that you can hide, but so that you can move forward. God covers you so that you can go. He sustains you so that you can fight. He gives you length of days so that you can bear fruit, and He shows you salvation so that you can proclaim it. Now it is your turn. The curtain closes, the credits roll, but you remain on the scene. A living soldier, sealed, guarded, and sent. May this psalm not be just a text that you read. May it be the identity that you carry. The hiding place has its doors open, and the one who lives there will never be the same.